Hey Virgo, welcome to your August 2020 love reading. It's Raina here. This month I'm working with a deck called Ethereal Tarot. And the design is, I believe, like Art Nouveau. Kind of like these simple lines, Victorian or romantic pictures, gilded cards. The Gilded Age, I don't know if that was the 20s though, the flapper era, but whatever. This is how the back looks. It looks kind of romantic or Victorian. And I've also devised my own spread, which I'm going to be telling you about once I pick these cards. Oh my gosh. This reminds me of Taurus. I just did Taurus's reading, and I got like a lot of major arcana cards too, and earth sign. Just like Taurus, but different. They're not all the same. The reason I'm laughing is because I'm like, wow. But with Taurus, this was, Taurus got, I just did Taurus and they got 4 out of 5 major arcana cards, which is amazing. Amazing odds. But for Taurus, Virgo is the 5th house of love, so for a love reading that makes sense because the sun is going to be going into this particular house during the month of August, during the, at the end of August, obviously. But for you, this is the 1st house. So that makes sense too, though, because this is you maybe experiencing a lot of changes. The matter at hand is the High Priestess. And this was one of the cards I drew for Taurus. And the High Priestess, but it was in a different position. And this is the matter at hand. So this is what is driving a lot of this. This reading is for single and coupled Virgos, by the way. But if you're coupled, obviously, or I should assume it would be obvious that this is for people who are having problematic relationships. And the High Priestess is, I think, kind of almost solitary, although I don't know if they emphasize that part, but it's definitely going within. And so if you're somebody who is single, you may not have even been all that interested in being in a relationship because you're so busy with your spiritual life. And so that is really important to you, and you're trying to take care of that side of life. If you are in a relationship, this can be a spiritual awakening that is changing the dynamics of the relationship. And it can also be somebody who is concerned that, or maybe it's not even a conscious situation, there may be more going on that you will discover. I often feel that even when people find out that they've been cheated on, that they say, I never saw it coming, and really the signs were there, but they chose not to see it coming because it was too painful to really acknowledge. And that's okay. That's human to feel that way. And no one should ever feel that they did something wrong, when in fact they were just either trying to protect themselves, or they wanted to look the other way so they could keep their relationship intact, even though they knew that was probably creating more problems by doing that. What is the catalyst for this new attitude of yours, or this new behavior? The Judgment card. For people who have recently gone through a divorce, sometimes this can literally be a legal judgment that has, I don't want to say it has triggered a spiritual awakening, but it can. Definitely life changes like that, especially if you had some kind of a dream that it was going to all work out, can, make a person quite philosophical and look to the deeper side of life and say, what is it all about? What is life all about? You know, why did this happen? What can I learn from this? That would be the greatest thing that a person can do when they find themselves dealing with something that is very hard to deal with, that is not easy to deal with. The other thing too is discernment. I don't know if this is something that comes after the fact. Of course, if you're in a relationship, you know, you're already in that relationship, and maybe you did show bad judgment, and if you would have done it all over again, you would have done things differently. But yeah, you know, it's interesting that I was thinking of the astrology, and we just had a lunar eclipse in Capricorn, which would be your 5th house. So that may have gone along with that, because Pluto is also in Capricorn, and I think Pluto is connected to the Judgment card. Pluto is about transformation, and this is a card. The Judgment card is a card of rebirth. But Pluto is also about deep, penetrating awareness. And with lunar eclipses, this can come to the person either as a spiritual download or just their own revelation that they're having on their own terms, where they see something finally clearly and they're like, wow. See somebody in a certain light that maybe they were giving them a pass. By the way, you know, it's one of those days where the light just keeps coming in and out, and I'm talking about the natural, the sunlight. And it just, I noticed it got really dark and then it got really light, so that's why. But yeah, so that lunar eclipse might have made you aware of something about your love interest, and that may have kind of made you aware that, hey, you know, they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, or I suspect and I think I'm right about this, something along those lines. It can also make you aware about what you're doing, how you're behaving, how you're operating, and how that affects the pattern of your relationships. Do you have like a certain pattern where you pick a type of person, and then, for instance, somebody who is a dependent type of individual, and you're helping them, because Virgos love to help people improve their lives. So this does not end with love. I mean, with the office or with your friends. This can be with love partners. And you might say, what's wrong with that? You know, what's wrong with helping my spouse improve their life? Nothing. I think we should be a helpmate. You know, they call it a helpmate, but it's when it's kind of like exactly what the reason that you're attracted to somebody is their helplessness, that it becomes a problem, because it's obviously going to be a more extreme situation. But there was something else I wanted to say about this, and I'm trying to remember. Oof. Oh well. Maybe seeing how cause and effect have gotten you where you are. So in other words, sometimes we can blame another party, the other party, because let's say they do cheat. How can you're not going to blame yourself for their cheating, hopefully. But you don't have to blame yourself for their cheating, but you can hold yourself accountable for choosing somebody who maybe showed signs that they were not ready to settle down, who you caught in lies, so you know they have the capacity to be deceptive, who's very flirtatious, you know, things like that that are pretty good red flags that the person might do that, and then you chose to look the other way. So it's really just holding yourself accountable so that you can have a relationship that you want. And this goes for single people as well as those in relationships. What you can do to facilitate love coming into your life, we have the World card. I really love this depiction of the World card. Interesting that they have the eagle, the lion, I don't know what that's supposed to be, and it looks like the bull. Oh, I wonder if it's all the fixed signs. Gosh, I don't know. This deck, I chose it because it's faithful to Rider-Waite. But I was never aware that the World card, I wonder if it's connected to fixed signs somehow. Because I'm identifying 3 out of the 4 of them seem to be Leo and Taurus and Scorpio. And I don't know if the other one's supposed to be Aquarius. If you know, write it below. So basically what this is saying is that in order to move forward and find love in your life, you probably need to close out something in your life. That there's something that is keeping you kind of in this state of suspension. In the Taurus reading, I actually drew the Hangman, which is kind of like that card that represents that. And when somebody is in this situation, they can feel like they're not truly being able to progress because they're keeping something open, something alive. My best guess is that this is referring to either, even if you're single, if there's an ex that, calls you now and again, and maybe that person doesn't pretend that it's going to lead to anything. It's just kind of like quickie, you know what I mean, like physical situation, and you may still be attracted to them, and you might not even love them, but you figure, hey, if I don't do this, I'm going to be celibate. That could still affect you at a deep level. So you have to perhaps close the door on all things past. It can be if you're in a marriage, in a relationship right now, that in your heart of hearts is going to end sooner or later, that you consider the sooner rather than the later, because this is just siphoning your energy. But again, these readings are for people who are looking for love, so I'm approaching it in that way, that I'm assuming that people who are watching this are ready for love. In some cases, I've gotten spreads where I'm like, no, I don't think you're ready yet. But that's not what I see here. I just see that the Virgo person is undergoing a lot of growth. With the High Priestess and the Judgment card. That you're undergoing a lot of growth. And therefore you are no longer resonating maybe with a relationship. Sometimes it happens when you grow. That relationships that at one time were completely appropriate don't seem so anymore, and that's fine. The outside influences that may be affecting or could assist you in getting your needs met, the Ten of Wands, or they could be affecting it, impacting it. Maybe you're working long hours, reopenings and things getting back to whatever normal means now, that has prevented you from dating. So if you're single and you really want to date, that has been the part that is difficult, because you have to work more hours than normal. The Ten of Wands can also be for somebody who is currently in a relationship. That may be what is also negatively impacting the relationship. If you don't see each other as much as you should because of work. But this is something that you've taken on, so it's not that you can point fingers and say, oh, this is being done to me. In my go-to tarot book, Anthony Lewis calls it the burdens of success. And it's like, hey, if you want to have this promotion, you have to work longer hours. Now you're no longer by the hour, now you're on salary, which means that you might be asked to work over 40 hours a week. And if you're really set on love, you have to, realize that you can't have everything. Something has to give. Something has to be... You either have to find balance, or you just have to accept the fact that right now it's not going to be possible to date because there's just not enough hours in the day. The outcome is the Strength card, and the Strength card actually connects to Leo. So the Ten of Wands might be a Leo that is around you, who is that you are showing an interest in, and or is showing an interest in you. Also, if we broaden it to include the other fire signs, it could be Sagittarius or Aries. So the Strength card is about you feeling more confident in your life. Perhaps this is connected to work, that you feel more confident, and that makes you feel more confident. And naturally, if you feel more confident, you're going to attract good things to you, love-related and just in general in life. And even if you're involved in an unhappy marriage, the Strength card can give you that ability to endure it. But you don't want to be somebody who is complacent, who just refuses to take action altogether. Even if that action is not leaving your partner, but going to marital counseling, sometimes alone, and just being okay with that. Not trying to change the other person, trying to change yourself, knowing that that will automatically shift the relationship. So, in any case, that's what I have for you, Virgo. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.